All right, good morning, everyone. We're so excited to have you here. Happy Sim Week. My name is Shannon DeMarco. I am the Administrative Director of Emergency Education and Clinical Simulation at the University of Wisconsin in Madison. I'm really excited to be here today as a member at large for the Society in Simulation and Healthcare's Media and Communications Committee. And I'm really excited to introduce our speaker today, or our guest, Shalita Kimble. Shalita is the Senior Systems Analyst with the TIPS, which is Teaching, Interprofessional, and Simulation Education Center at the University of Texas. Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center. Shalita began her simulation career when she joined Texas Women's University School of Nursing Education Center for Clinical Innovations and Advanced Technologies in 2006. Now, Shalita has more than 25 years of combined experience in managing teams, simulations, providing technical expertise, and leadership in program, project, IT, operations, logistics, and production management in the healthcare industry. Shalita also holds degrees in medical radiography, digital communications, computer science, and education. And nationally, Shalita is a member of the Society for Simulation in Healthcare since 2014. She's participated in several committees, served as the Vice Chair for Simulation Operation and Technology section, and is currently a member of the Executive Board of Directors. So we're going to watch a little video that was prepared by Shalita that's called Say It Loud, Reuniting to Make a Difference. Afterwards, we'll have a little time for a Q&A session, so if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and then I'll facilitate some questions and answers after we're done. I believe that's all the housekeeping I needed to do. Wasn't sure if I missed anything. All right, then we'll go ahead and get started.
I just wanted to say a quick good morning and thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Shannon. She makes me sound so official and so good, but you guys all know me. It's just me. I've got a recorded presentation for you, so take it away.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the tail end of Healthcare Simulation Week 2021. Welcome to Say It Loud, Reuniting to Make a Difference. Have you had the opportunity to see the video contest? What about all of the presentations that have gone thus far? There's one tomorrow, and if you haven't had the opportunity to see them, check out the replay on Sunday. It has been an action-packed week. I hope your centers have participated in getting the word out and you have enjoyed the week. I know I have. I have nothing to disclose. I am Shalita Kimble. I'm with the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center, TIPS Education Center. And I'd like to say thank you to the Society and the co-chairs for inviting me to participate in this year's Healthcare Simulation Week. It is always an honor and a pleasure. Granted, it makes me so nervous, but here I am talking to you today, and I look forward to it. Who am I? I'm a tech geek. I'm an x-ray tech. I'm a massage therapist, an AV specialist, a board member, well, an outgoing board member, but yet still, I'm a board member. I'm a simulationist. I'm a simulation technologist. I'm a simulation operations specialist. I'm one of you. I'm really just an overall geek, but don't tell anybody. That's who I am. I am just one person in this big old simulation cog wheel that we live in. Now, I have to admit, it took me to the 9th hour to figure out what I wanted to say, what I wanted to talk about today. So this talk is actually more of a call to action than it is a presentation, if you will. Reunite is the theme of the Healthcare Simulation Week this year. Though we're not completely reunited yet, we're on the way to it. So I had to figure out, what does reunitement mean to me? I went down one road and it didn't feel right. I went down another road and it didn't feel right. So I had to struggle to figure out what I wanted to talk about today. And I decided, say it loud, reuniting to make a difference. So let me set the stage. 2020, 2019, and now 2021 threw us a hard, fast curveball, and it was moving. Our simulation centers were shut down. We went on lockdown. Education, for the most part, came to a screeching halt. The world just went on pause. It's like somebody pushed the pause button and completely forgot. COVID, in my best Marsha Brady voice. No, not Marsha, Jane Brady, in my best Jane Brady voice. Marsha. But all of our worlds just came to a halt and we were sent scrambling. How do we continue to educate? How do we continue to keep our patient safety going? How do we graduate our students? What do we do? Well, as simulationists, we rose to the challenge. We hit that curveball that 2020 threw at us and we knocked it out of the park. We got creative. We created virtual spaces and virtual simulations so that our students could continue to learn. We went in situ. We created COVID unit sim so that we could keep our practicing professionals safe. We went out on a limb and pulled out every creative stop it is that we could think of in our world. You know, you have to admit, simulationists, we are some of the most creative people out there, or at least that's my opinion. I heard tell of one group that actually created a virtual sim where they used standardized patients, mannequins, their sim center, and all of their students, and they did it in a virtual space. It was so great to see. I tell you, I am so honored to be part of that community, part of a community that can stand up to a challenge and run with it and still make sure our patients are safe and our participants and students are safe. So thank you all. Thank you all for your creativity. But what did that do? What did that creativity happen for us? The payoff, the regulatory agencies, the governing bodies, they were like, whoa, okay. They paid a great bit of attention, so much so that they created executive orders. They made for emergency allowances, the virtual OSCEs. Can you believe the OSCEs went virtual? I was like, okay, the OSCEs are virtual. Telemedicine has been around since Hector was a pup. I know since the mid-90s, and it's never really taken off. Well, thanks to Uncle Pandemic, it has taken off with gangbusters. Where now you can go now and have a workout, you can see a mental health professional, you can get your eyes checked, all virtually. You don't necessarily have to go in at all. And that's all based on technology and simulation. Another payoff, California, they can now do 50% of simulations accepted as clinical practice. Wouldn't it be grand to see every state and beyond accept 75% of simulation for clinical practice? It would alleviate us having to try to figure out spaces for our students. Wouldn't that be grand? I think so. So how do we do that? We got to play ball, and we got to play hardball. 2020 threw a hard curve ball at us. The regulatory agencies said, okay, we can do that. We'll play with you. So they enacted those laws. They enacted those regulatory temporary orders, is what I will have to say, those temporary orders, which is great. But we're at the bottom of the ninth. The bases are loaded and the regulatory agencies are up by 1. In that scenario or in that situation, what's going to happen when the pandemic is over? We'll go back to in-person learning, the executive orders, the emergency allowances, those will all expire. We'll go back to fighting for clinical training sites. We'll go back to having not enough space for our students. We'll go back to all of that unless we stand up and fight. Unless we stand up and become one collective voice to help those governing agencies, or not help, to force those governing agencies to accept simulation on a more standard basis. So how do we do that? We rally our team. When I looked at this map of all of the people participating in Healthcare Simulation Week, it just warmed my heart. I could not imagine that in just the short few years that Simulation Week has been in inception, this many people in this many countries would be participating. So I started to think, can you imagine all of these people coming together as one collective voice? The government and the regulatory agencies, they would not have a choice but to listen to all of us. But I can hear you saying, okay, I'm one center. I'm one person. I'm one entity. How can I make that happen? How can I make that difference? Well, we come together as a group. All of these societies, and yes, there are plenty more societies out there, but these are the 4 that popped into my head when I was creating this presentation. But all of the societies, if we all come together and work as one, that is a resounding, huge voice to the legislatures. It packs a punch. That legislature, the governing bodies, the regulatory agencies, they have to listen to groups this large. So if we come together as one, we can make a difference. We can make a difference. I believe it. Do you? So now that we've decided we want to join some societies and we want to come together, that's how we do it as a group. How do you do it as one person? Well, as one person, you go out, you join those societies, and you get active. Because the more hands that are out there, the more voices that are helping, the stronger our word is, the louder our voice gets. So volunteer. Join one of the societies. Heck, join every last one of the societies that you can. Advocate for our profession. The more we speak, the more attention we get. I think of it as the squeaky wheel always gets the oil. So if we squeak loud enough, they're going to oil us just to shut us up. And that's where we want to be. We want to get that oil. We want them to shut us up. Sort of. We'll keep pushing. But I really think that if we all come together and we all do our part in this fight to get simulation recognized, we can be like the NASA regulations. You know, every NASA astronaut has to go through a simulation before they can ever even sit in the rocket. Once they get to sit in it, they have to go through more simulations before they ever even get to turn it on. They have to go through more regulations before they can go up into space. More simulations, more regulations, more practice before they can go into space. I would love to see the medical profession go that way. And the only way to do that is to get those agencies to pay attention to us. So that's how we do it. We also shoot to advance our field. We strive to advance our field. We go through professional development. We go to conferences. We get certified. That helps to set our profession in cement. I always think cement is hard to move. It's immovable. Once it's set, it's set. It takes a jackhammer to move it around, and we're going to be that. We're not going to move for a jackhammer. But that is how we do it. Continue to publish, do scholarly works. That is, in my opinion, the way that one single individual can make our profession or help our profession to move forward. What do you think? I really wish this was a Q&A kind of situation or a Q&A kind of talk, because I would love to get your opinion. I would love to hear what you have to say. So let me recap for you. Bottom of the ninth, the regulatory agencies and the governing bodies are up by 1. The bases are loaded. We're at bat. And what are we going to do? We're going to play this game, and we're going to win this game. How do we do that? We join societies. We speak to our local and state representatives. We get as a collective, or we become a collective and go to the legislature. We push for those regulatory regulations to be, or those temporary regulations, we push for those to become permanent. We fight, we fight, we fight. We knock this ball right out of the park and win the game. That's how we do it. Will you be part of it? Thank you.
Well, that was just wonderful. Thank you for that wonderful video, Shalita. That was wonderful. We have a question here from Curtis. Do you have examples of wins, even small ones, that you've been part of, or maybe were small but meant a lot to you, or mean a lot to you?
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question, Curtis. Wins that I have been part of, I think getting more simulation operations specialists to the board, getting more people to step out on the limb and to get on the board to kind of help make decisions and help move forward and get our section or our area more recognized. I think that one is one of my most proud ones, if you will.
Yeah, that's great.
Let everyone know they can unmute themselves if they want to ask a question. Sorry.
No, that's perfect. I was going to say it. Thank you, Christina. I think that's a great answer, Shalita. The question I have for you is hopefully not a loaded question for you, but kind of in the same realm as what was the best payoff, do you think, from this transition in the pandemic? You know, we always are thinking about how it's changed us all so much. And we always want to be thinking about, you know, we want to go back to the way things were or however, but I do think that there has been some great opportunities that we've learned and great lessons. And I'm just wondering what you think the best payoff has been since COVID has begun.
What I think the best payoff has been since COVID has begun was the fact that we have now proven that we can do quality education virtually. I think that is one of the best payoffs, because what that is going to do is for those countries or those places that don't necessarily have the sim centers or have all of the toys and all of the bells and whistles and things that we have here in the States, or even some of the rural areas that don't have that, they can still participate in simulation and get quality education virtually. So I think that is one of the biggest payoffs.
Yeah, and I would agree with you on that. I think that's such a great point to make. We're just able to deliver education differently now, and there's nothing wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having more ways to do it and more equitable ways to do it as well. I have other questions, but I'll let and see if anybody in the audience has questions they'd like to answer or ask.
I noticed that Matt made a comment in the
Oh,
chat that
perfect.
said any engagement through the society has been key, which it has
Yep,
been key.
yep.
And I always say, if we all kind of stay quiet and stay silent, we never get noticed. If you
Hmm.
don't open your mouth or if you don't try to really get out there, we won't get noticed. Nothing will ever really move. You have to make the choice to step out and, talk. And I firmly believe the squeaky wheel gets the oil. If you squeak loud enough, they will try to shut you up. And the only way we be quiet is if they give us what we want.
Yep. Any questions from the audience? Okay, so let me ask you, I'll ask you another question that I had as I was listening to that talk. It was so well done and very eloquent and made just such perfect sense for, I think, for everybody here. But, thinking back, and I know we can never go back to the way things were before, but what would you do? What would you do differently if we were in the same transition again? Or what do you think, where are we still limited? That's probably a better way to ask the question. Where are we still limited now in the middle of the pandemic, almost 2 years in, and how can we circumvent that? Where are the limitations?
Oh, let's see. The limitations. Actually, the limitations are could be technology, which is slowly but surely getting there.
Mhm.
But I think our limitations are our imagination, and we are our own limitations
Mhm.
because if we can dream it, we probably can create it. So
Mhm.
I think technology and our own imaginations would be our limitations.
Yeah, I think that's a really fair point. Thinking back, why hadn't we thought of these things before? And they seem so straightforward and easy solutions, but we didn't think about them before I'm sure a lot of people didn't. I didn't think about them before the pandemic, and would agree with you as well on the technology side. I have very fortunate that I have a lot of resources available to me at the university, and I still feel like we're limited with the technology that we have. And so I definitely can hear that, and I appreciate my position and realize the privilege that I have having the resources I do, and can only appreciate that other people probably have significantly less or more resources than I do, and probably still feel the same.
Take telemedicine, for instance. Telemedicine came out, I know, back in the late 90s or mid late 90s, but I was only a baby then.
Okay.
Uh, but telemedicine came out and it tried and it tried and it tried. I was part of a couple of projects trying to get it off the ground, but it never went anywhere. So
Mhm.
technology has advanced. The pandemic has forced us to sit down and make it happen. So, like I say, our imagination and technology.
Mhm. Okay, what questions do we have from the audience, or comments, or any thoughts? Okay, well, I guess if there's nothing else, I would thank you again, Shalita. It was just wonderful to hear your thoughts on this, and really looking forward to what's to come, especially being together at IMSH this next January. And I want to thank everybody again for being here, and happy Sim Week. I wasn't sure if there's last minute notifications. Curtis just said thank you for this. Getting involved at such a level is huge. So yes, thank you everybody for being here, and happy Sim Week to everybody.
Thank you
Christina, do you have
guys for.
any last minute things, or Shalita?
I just wanted to say thank you all for joining. Happy Sim Week and have a wonderful weekend.
Okay. Well, with that, have a great Friday, everybody.